Today I'm going to walk you through some time-lapse footage that I've gathered while building this concept Yamaha motorcycle that I'm calling the MTE, the Master of Torque Electric. And along the way, I'll share some of the lessons that I've learned during this process so far. In the last video, I mentioned that my goal was to build one model a month between now and July. And this model has taken me 2 months so far, and I still have a lot of work to do. And I'm learning the software as I go along, which is also contributing to some of the extra time that I need. So the first lesson is that building a model while also learning the software will take longer than you expect. I've also had to build this model twice. The first time I started the model, I wasn't entirely sure what I was building and was instead trying to design the bike in Blender without having a clear vision, and that was leading to pretty subpar results. So lesson 2 is, for the best results, I think it's best to know what you want to build before you start building. The more details you have worked out prior to starting the model, the faster and more accurate your modeling process is going to be. So I scrapped the first model and went back to the drawing board quite literally. Once I had a pretty clear idea of where I wanted to go with this bike, I jumped into Photoshop to create a tight side view sketch that I would be able to use as an orthograph and reference to build off of. And at this point, I introduced another new tool and potentially exciting tool, and that was Viscom AI. Viscom will take whatever you give it and turn it into something. I find that the best way to use Viscom is to feed it a really tight sketch and have it run rendering iterations for you. For this exercise, I took a bunch of the Viscom renderings and then took them into Photoshop and cut out the elements that I wanted and combined them all. Then I did a render pass in Photoshop to develop that key side view sketch, and I think that it came out pretty cool. Lesson 3 is that you can use AI to speed up your process, but you can't or shouldn't use AI as the basis for your creative vision. That vision should come from you, the artist, the designer, the creator. So now I was back at square one, an empty Blender file and a sketch. Sometimes building a model is very similar to sketching in that the most intimidating moment can be that blank page when nothing has yet been created and there's infinite possibility, and you're sitting there asking yourself, well, where do I start? Lesson 4, when beginning a model, start with the largest and most simple shapes first, and then double click and start developing the details. On a motorcycle, that can be difficult because there are so many parts to build. I think a good place to start a motorcycle model is by blocking in the wheels to establish the wheelbase, then start building out the tank section or any large fairing surfaces. This will allow you to see the major elements coming together in 3D, and you can make adjustments to things that don't seem to be working as well in the 3D space as they did in your 2D sketch. Here's an example of how I started to build that front fender shape. So I create a plane and delete everything except for one vertex. Then I extrude that vertex and basically trace the outer edge of the fender. Then I duplicate that string of vertices and place them where I think the corner of the fender will be. And then you can fill in each section quickly to build out that preliminary surfacing. I use the same method for the front fairings and the chassis surfaces. Building a motorcycle is tough. There are a lot of mechanical details that you'll want to be sensitive to, like how the chassis mates to the engine and to the subframe and to the swing arm and to the forks. So there are a lot of details to consider. And that brings us to lesson 5. Be patient and keep going. Progress will come as long as we stick with it. Let me know in the comments which areas you want me to dive deeper into, and I'm happy to create tutorials or walkthroughs for those areas. And please, tell me how I can more efficiently build this model. If you have tips and tricks that you are willing to share, leave those in the comments as well. I'm still in the beginning of my Blender journey, so any additional information that you have, please point me in the right direction. If you want to know how I plan on getting good at Blender, watch this video here. And If you want to follow along on this adventure, subscribe.